More than 5,000 bodies have been recovered in Libya after floods burst 2 dams, devastating the eastern city of Derna.
During talks with Vladimir Putin, North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un has vowed support for what is described as Russia's sacred fight in Ukraine.
State of the European Union. Commission President wants EU to heed the call of history.
In Morocco, rescue teams are racing against the clock to find survivors buried beneath the rubble following last week's devastating earthquake.
A city flattened. That's how those on the ground are describing the Libyan city of Derna after the weekend's devastating floods. More than 5,000 bodies have now been recovered and more are expected. Rescue volunteers are working around the clock to scavenge whoever they can from the rubble and ruin of the city. On Sunday night, the bursting of 2 dams hit by a huge storm swept through the eastern town, sweeping away hundreds of buildings. According to official figures, 9,000 people are missing. These satellite images showing the before and after of the floods help to understand the magnitude of the catastrophe. According to the International Organization for Migration, the tragedy has left at least 30,000 people displaced, left to fend for themselves in a state torn by a decade of civil war. Thus, it is the citizens who are primarily responsible for burying the victims, the overwhelming majority in mass graves. Less than half of the corpses recovered in Derna are yet to be buried.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un arriving in Russia. During talks with President Vladimir Putin, he offered his country's full and unconditional support for what he described as Russia's sacred war in Ukraine. The two men, both isolated by the West, expressed mutual comradeship as sanctions against their countries continue.
우리는 러시아 군대와 이민이 패권과 팽창 야망을 추구하는 악의 무리들을 징벌하고 안정적인 발전 환경을 마련하기 위한 정의의 싸움에서 반드시 위대한 승리를 쟁취하리라고 확신합니다.
Наши отношения были заложены еще в ходе борьбы Кореи за свободу в 1945 году, когда советские и корейские солдаты плечом к плечу громили японских милитаристов. Мы и сегодня стремимся крепить узы товарищества и добрососедства.
The United States and South Korea have expressed concerns that Pyongyang will supply Russia with weapons and ammunition. As Kim travelled home, Putin said they had discussed the possibility of military cooperation. Washington says North Korea will pay a price if it sends military support to Russia for its invasion of Ukraine.
At least 24 people are reported to have been injured in what Russia says was a Ukrainian attack on the strategically important shipyard at Sevastopol in Crimea. Authorities in the Russian-controlled peninsula say 2 ships undergoing repairs were damaged in the strike, which also caused a major fire at the port. They say 10 cruise missiles were fired at the shipyard and 3 drones at Russian ships offshore in the Black Sea. Ukraine has not commented on Moscow's claims.
A European Union that answers the call of history. This was Ursula von der Leyen's main message in her speech on the State of the European Union. And by that, the President of the European Commission meant, for this moment in time, facing the challenges of the economy. As the members of the European Parliament heard, on top of that agenda are China's unfair trade practices.
Global markets are now flooded with cheaper Chinese electric cars. And their price is kept artificially low by huge state subsidies. This is distorting our market. And as we do not accept this distortion from the inside in our market, we do not accept this from the outside. So I can announce today that the Commission is launching an anti-subsidy investigation into electric vehicles coming from China.
EU competitiveness was another of her key messages, to be achieved through more attention to small and medium businesses. Europe will do whatever it takes to keep its competitive edge, she said, areas in particular to focus on the development of AI and clean industry.
Cooperate from wind to steel, from batteries to electric vehicles. Our ambition is crystal clear. The future of our clean tech industry has to be made in Europe. This is our task.
And the Commission President doubled down on European support to Ukraine, announcing the intention to extend temporary protection for Ukrainians in the EU. She also nudged the EU's doors open to new member states again, championing the enlargement of the EU in parallel with its reform, including through a European Convention and treaty change if and where it is needed.
This House has said it out loud. The future of Ukraine is in our Union. The future of the Western Balkans is in our Union. The future of Moldova is in our Union.
Just 9 months ahead of the European elections, she proudly pointed to the delivery of over 90% of the political guidelines presented in 2019.
About our capacity to act. So, it is time for Europe to once again think big and write our own destiny.
This could be interpreted as an election manifesto to lead the next Commission, except she did not mention any intentions on her part.
Refusing to give up hope of finding survivors buried beneath the rubble. Search and rescue teams from Spain and Qatar raced against the clock in Morocco's remote Atlas Mountains. Last week's powerful earthquake, which struck near Marrakesh, killed more than 2,900 people and injured over 5,500 others. Rescuers continue to provide care. Evacuation by helicopter is sometimes the only way to get much-needed medical treatment to survivors. But aftershocks are not helping. They continue to rock Morocco. More than 25 have already hit the country since the 6.8 magnitude earthquake. In Marrakesh, Morocco's King Mohammed VI was a surprise visitor to the city's University Hospital Centre. The Moroccan authorities have come under criticism for only accepting limited foreign aid, despite rescuers struggling to reach remote regions hardest hit. But the government says it does not want to risk a chaotic situation, a bottleneck of dozens of countries and aid organisations arriving to help. Many buildings in Marrakesh's historic Medina have fallen victim to the quake. Made of ancient mud brick, they were too fragile to withstand the tremor. About 85% of the houses have been destroyed. In some cases, entire families are living on the streets, too fearful to return to those homes still standing.
Streams of red-hot lava, erupting craters and clouds of smoke. The latest eruption of a Hawaii volcano isn't threatening any infrastructure, but health officials are warning the public about air quality hazards from volcanic smog known as VOG. It's created by vapor, carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide gas. VOG can give healthy people burning eyes, headaches and sore throats. It can be especially dangerous for those suffering with asthma or other respiratory problems.
A thick column of smoke rising from a building on fire on Tuesday night in the Vietnamese capital Hanoi. At least 56 people died in the blaze in the 10-story building, which was home to about 150 residents. Some of them jumped out of windows to escape the flames, while others climbed onto the roof to call for help. Police have detained the owner of the building, accusing him of violating safety regulations. An investigation into the cause of the fire is underway. Vietnam's Prime Minister visited the site on Wednesday, calling for a review of buildings with high fire risks.
iPhone's wired capabilities.
Apple has unveiled its new iPhone 15, complete with a USB-C charging port to comply with EU rules. It marks the first time since 2012 that the tech giant has changed the connector on its flagship device. Last year, the EU mandated that all portable electronics must sport a universal connector by the end of 2024 to reduce e-waste and simplify life for consumers. So Apple's ditched its Lightning charging port after the EU forced the change.
French authorities have asked tech giant Apple to temporarily remove the iPhone 12 from the market for emitting too much electromagnetic radiation. The National Frequency Agency discovered in a series of tests that phones exceeded the rate of specific energy absorption by the human body. It's asked the company to use, quote, all available means to quickly remedy this dysfunction. Apple has disputed the findings and says the device complies with all radiation regulations.
Venice is launching a new tourist tax that will target day trippers travelling into the city at peak times. The plans for the tax to be put in place as a 30-day experiment in the spring of next year. Visitors will be asked to pay €5 via an online booking system that the city plans to unveil soon. The aim is to help Venice battle over-tourism, which is a major problem for the lagoon city. Those who are exempt include overnight guests and those who may be commuting into the city for work.
Thousands of Serbian fans gathered in front of the iconic balcony of the Old Palace in Belgrade as local favourite Novak Djokovic received a hero's welcome following his recent US Open triumph. Fresh from a straight-sets win over Daniil Medvedev in the final in New York, the 36-year-old, who was invited to the stage by the Serbian basketball team, gave a speech and struggled to hold back the tears. Djokovic's 24th Grand Slam title saw him reclaim the world #1 spot, whilst the basketball team produced a stunning run to reach the World Cup final held in Manila on Sunday.